Sex, religion and politics are the three topics you're not meant to speak about in polite conversations, but because we're South African, that just doesn't ever work. We know that all we ever talk about is sex, religion and politics. So to speak about three topics or three news stories revolving around sex, religion and politics, I'm joined in studio by two opinion makers today. Thank you so much for joining me. So before we get started, could I ask you just to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Zahida. I'm also known as Z. Basically, I'm here just to, like you said, talk about topics that we're not supposed to talk about. So I look forward to whatever is unfolding as it should. So
excellent.
Let's get talking.
My name is Sibulele Sikoshosha. I'm a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creative, and I guess I'm opinionated. That's why I'm here.
Well, that's exactly why you're both here. So let's kick it off with this. The Tshwane mayor slept with my wife. That is one of the headlines. Of course, it's got everything to do with sex because a really irate husband is saying, the mayor has slept with my wife. Now,
Scandal.
So scandalous. All of that aside, do the lives of prominent politicians, the sex lives of prominent politicians matter? Siva, I'll start with you.
Yeah, because there's a certain perception that you create, especially if you are a public servant, and especially if you're not supposed to just deliver, deliver for your community or, whatever post you have, but also be it, aspirational being. So personally, I hear that he's got great rapport, but she should have thought about if it's allegedly. So if he did, he should have thought about his perception management, because it's not, we're all holistic beings. It's not just the work, and if our work spills over our personal lives because people are always looking at us, it tends to become a problem. So it does matter, because then again, it doesn't matter. So I read this, when I read it, I was I was in the middle.
I agree that it does. Yeah, it does. I also think it matters. I mean, you're an elected official, so I think you should realize that, you have a moral obligation, you have to lead by example, etc., etc. And then on the other side, as Sibu says, you're fallible also, you have faults and stuff like that. But I mean, having an extramarital affair is not a fault. It's a moral. No, what I mean, it's not something that you can say, oops, I slipped.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a fault.
You.
It's something that you enter into willingly, and that is infidelity, it's whatever. And so you're taking that step as an adult, and then as an elected official, I mean, what are your responsibilities? Now it's all over the headlines. It's a hotbed of lies, scandal, all of this stuff. And it makes it to the front pages of the news. And at the end of the day, I mean, you're looking into other people's lives, but these are real people also, and they're elected officials. And I think you have a responsibility, whether you're an elected official or not. I mean, infidelity is infidelity.
But also, just to add on what you said, is that with infidelity, there's a level of dishonesty. So how dishonest? That's the question when I read the article. How far does this dishonesty transcend? So it goes.
It's like if you're willing to lie, you're willing to steal.
Exactly. So that was just my issue. Is that we heard we read he had an affair today, tomorrow. His mistress might have gotten a job as an executive.
That's exactly how apparently it came out. Is the wife said she was. She was doing what? She was getting different positions, and I laughed at the
wording.
Different positions.
The different positions. She was moving through the different positions, and I'm going, really? Who wrote that? But that was apparently a direct quote, He started noticing when she was moving through these different positions. But that's, again, it's ethics, and whatever. And then, again, as you say, as a Tshwane representative, his budget will now have to be looked at. And it's all about ethics. At the end of the day, it's all about ethics. But, again, allegedly, we are not accusing anybody. And, of course, now the WhatsApp messages which led to all of this has disappeared completely. And maybe like Oscar Pistorius, they can't find
signal
the
jamming.
Yes.
Yeah, the signal has been jammed.
I was about to say,
what's up with that?
This isn't the first time we've had WhatsApps disappear and all sorts of drama. Now, government are obviously calling on the private lives of public servants to be kept away from the media. We know that when it comes to the Protection of State Information Bill, for instance, government's argument is we're not trying to keep important information from you, we're just trying to keep our private lives private. How much of a private life can you have if you're a public official?
You're property of the public. You're our property, and
Hello.
you got into that job knowing that we own you. I'm sorry, sorry to putting it so bluntly.
I think
so
the same goes for celebrities.
Yeah,
as well. You can't really say I
That's
want to be
interesting.
famous. No, you can't say I want to be famous and then cry, oh, the paparazzi is hounding me. But what do you want? If you start building a career from small, what is your goal? Your goal is to be as famous as possible, and then when you get the infamy, you want anonymity.
But especially with politicians, because they're accountable to the public.
Yeah, I think it's
So
even more so.
everything that you do, if you buy petrol with a state card but you're going to Gniza with your family, we should know about that because it's our money. So I think they don't understand that they're on our tab. So it's okay if they want to throw thousands and thousands of rands and parties and whatever, but if I deliver. But the problem is that they actually don't deliver. So it's like they're more prominent, and I might be trashed on Twitter about this, but for
It's
instance,
okay, that's what we love.
for instance, our sports minister, I love him. I think he dresses well. I think he's a very opinionated human being. I'm trying really hard to not be controversial. But, he was at the NBA All-Star week, and he was he was looking very damper, and it didn't match. I get that he has a salary and he can do whatever he wants with his money, but as a public official, the average South African, there was a story in Carte Blanche about the rowing team not having enough money, but they're winning gold medals. So as a South African, I find it to be a bit irresponsible, because you're portraying a life that the average South African cannot live, or you're portraying a life that
Although I must admit, I mean, he has the salary to match it.
No,
I mean,
for
if
sure.
I can, and it's like anybody, if you can afford it, why not? I mean, that's what I can afford. That is within my limits to buy, and I like good things, and that's got nothing to do with my job.
Yeah.
As long as I'm performing and I'm doing my job, does it really matter how I dress? Yes, I dress to the nines, perfect. It's fantastic.
No, but my point is that if there's a story on Carte Blanche about the rowing team and SASCOC not having enough money to fund, and that's his portfolio. I'm not saying that he must take. I'm not saying he must take out of his
responsibility.
Yeah,
I mean, how does him wearing become what?
No,
he
but
wears?
I'm saying
That's
that it's not supposed to take it out of his pocket. But what I'm
Ah.
trying to say is that maybe he should be sensitive to certain things, because
No, absolutely.
there's a lack of sensitivity and there's lack of accountability with our
Can I touch on that
civil
sports?
service.
It's funny that you bring that up. This is
Yeah.
amazing. This past weekend, and going on to next week, it's the South African National Pool Championship. Who knows about that?
I didn't.
You do?
Yeah. This weekend at Grand West, I don't know if I can mention who it is, but this weekend was the South African National Pool Championships. It's an open tournament, right? And male and females take place. And I've been involved with pool on a certain level for the last 20 years. And it's so ironic, because we had this conversation yesterday and Fukile's name came up and stuff like that. And you're talking about money. I saw people yesterday, and at first I was very much involved with it, then I left the game and then I came in. So yesterday and this weekend I went to go visit and go see old friends that I haven't seen for 11 years, 15 years. They're still playing. The woman who was a friend of mine, she's from KwaZulu-Natal, now in Gauteng. She has been a South African champion 5 times, a national South African champion 5 times. She beat 64 other women. There's a whole 200 competitors. You know how much money they get for sport? Virtually nothing. I think they got 90,000 rand. Oh, listen to this. There's I don't know how many thousands of pool players in the league. Snooker apparently is 218 snooker players, largely white snooker players, who get something like 900,000 or 700,000 rand, yet they get 90,000. For thousands of pool players, which has come through the ranks, and is one of the most integrated amateur sports you can get. You won't believe me. You see every kind of person playing pool, male, female, disabled. I said if these people had to apply for a BE certificate, they would score off the charts. And I was there yesterday, and the guy who won the doubles champion and the single champion is a guy that started in the game 25 years ago. And 25 years later, he's still playing and he's still the champion. But you get names like Roland Skuman and Hasim Amla and Jacques Callis and all these people's name mentioned every day for their dedication to the sports. And because it's a traditionally white sport, I don't want to bring the color into this, but this is basically what it is. But yes, a development sport played on ground level, played in communities, and it gets nothing, no attention. And you get snooker, who's got mostly white people, 218 players. I got this, I was having this conversation, 218 players, I think has something like 700,000 for the year. given to them when you have 1,000 pool players who gets 90,000 divided into 9 provinces? How is that even making sense?
Look, I mean, there's absolutely no denying South African sport needs real transformation. I recently spoke to the DA Shadow Minister for Sport, Soli Malatsi, who's campaigning really for men and women to be paid the same when it comes to sport in South Africa. So
I mean, that's not happening yet?
No. For instance, Banyana players are paid significantly less than Bafana players, who quite frankly aren't performing either.
Well, no.
So there is just this massive divide, and in a country like South Africa in 2015, I find it unacceptable that we're not paying our female athletes.
I think it starts at the root and at the development. It starts at the root. You look if you know, I'm a tour guide as well, in addition to being a writer and highly opinionated and doing a whole lot of other things. I'm also a tour guide, so I take tourists around a lot, and of course you show all the the nice things that tourists must see. But when you sometimes get into a real conversation like we're talking now, then we talk about sports, and I'll say, I know, man, Bafana. I mean, look, we're at the top of our game. Well, we just lost in New Zealand, but we were, cricket world champions. We were rugby world champions. And we could have been, had soccer been developed and given white money like all these other sports 30 and 40 years ago, I will guarantee you that Bafana and our soccer team would also be a world champion. But because black sport never got that kind of money and development like cricket and rugby did, we never got it. We never played at international level, so how can you expect us to all be in the same race if we never got the same start? It's like your kid and my kid, we go to school at the same time. Sure, we can be in the race, but if yours kid, we don't. They have got 20 years ahead of us. 20 years ahead of soccer. We'll never get there. It'll take another 20 years for us to be world champions. Yeah. It's never going to happen.
So we started off talking about
the mayor,
sex. Oh yes, we're on to
politics.
We're on to sport. But I want to keep sort of on the verge of sex and politics, because apparently one of our president's wives tried to poison him.
No.
One of his wives. So
one of his wives.
Sex, wives, scandal. It's all linked.
Now, obviously, the presidency is saying this is really just gossip. It's nonsense. The Sunday Times is saying they've got 3 separate sources. Do you believe it?
I don't necessarily care. Really, it's just
fair enough. You know what? That is fair enough.
I'm sorry. I'm patriotic, but it's enough now.
I think maybe they're just looking.
There's a lot of stories,
now you must remember everything is strategy.
Yeah.
And you look at something to get another story off the front pages. We can just quickly, a diversion tactic, and then boom.
No,
but a new story trending. That's trending right now.
But I also think
Sona is gone.
I also think that it could have been a distraction from Sona and what happened there. I'm trying to be very euphemistic today. It could be a distraction from Sona, but also there were stories brewing about this lady. I remember reading a couple of months ago, and they said she became a staunch, born again Christian, and she didn't want the whole.
The wife?
This one.
I see. Yeah, the one that's been accused.
The one that's been
accused.
Wife
number 7? Oops, wait, no. Wife number 4.
We're not on 7 yet.
No.
Yeah, she became a staunch born again Christian, so she didn't want to do these traditional stuff and slaughter and and the president is a very traditional Zulu man, so that could have been the the indication that there would be a rift, and then so I think honestly she was just picked for drama, because afterwards she was having an affair with a god who disappeared, and so there's always been scandal with this one particular wife, but it's so amazing that weighing her transgressions to the president's transgressions, it's like
I'm telling you, it's another story to get it off the front page.
It's. I just feel like this woman is being ostracized. Maybe it's because I'm a feminist, and I just feel like she's being ostracized for nothing. If she did attempt to poison the president, that was very bad. That is very bad. She shouldn't have done that.
Yeah? And do you remember this? If your president is poisoned, shouldn't have taken up all of the headlines everywhere. Was he out of commission?
There was a time in
August and whatever.
He was sick. I mean,
he did lose a lot of weight. I've noticed he's quite thin and whatever. But in August, I would say your president being poisoned, if this happened in August, should at least run for 5 days. Front page, of every newspaper trending.
But apparently he went to doctors, according to the story, he went to doctors in the United States and then he didn't trust them. And then he went to the Russians.
But they confirmed that he was poisoned.
So apparently he said to his family that we're going to keep this a family matter and we're not going to tell anybody. But this particular wife has done something that could land her in jail.
Yeah.
And then asked her, then she was in isolation at Nkandla for Christmas and New Year. She wasn't allowed to leave her little part of the compound. And now she's had to
wait. Can I just say something? I find I have a big problem with that because Jacob Zuma's son killed a person in his Porsche. Yes. A person is dead, you know. So that is also not a private family matter because he's our property. You know, we voted for him. There were posters all around the country with his face, and he wanted us to.
He has a better story to tell.
You know, he has a better story to tell. So now, why isn't he seen as a father reprimanding his son who killed someone? He's not dead. He was allegedly poisoned, and also it's just so convenient that all of this is happening now. All of this is happening after he laughed at the State of the Nation. All of this is happening when he has to pay back the money via ShopRite. You know, all of this is happening now. So my fundamental problem with this is the fact that, you know, we have a president that likes to duck and dive and is not accountable. And the lack of accountability in the top office in this country trickles down to everything else. That's why, I can't say this. That's why.
Say it. Just say it. We want to hear.
That's why. No. That's why certain individuals who don't have empathy for the poor. You know, that's why. You know, there was a story. I feel very uncomfortable talking about this, but there was a story with the guy from African Bag who recently passed away, who actually said "F the poor." You know, that is a accountability matter, and it starts from the top. He as the president,
I think there's a saying that says the higher up you go, the more you lose touch with those below you. And that for me, just think the same. I think everyone in positions of power now have just forgotten how they got there, what the struggle was about. And you know, that's why, and if we have to talk about EFF and we have to talk about Mr. Malema, look, the president did, you know, extend secondly not his hand, but at least commend Comrade Malema afterwards, you know. But I think, like, the EFF says things that other people are afraid to. And so at the end, I mean, I work on the corner of Berg and Adderley Street, and when Sona opened, you know, everything was closed. I could only get through in a certain way because, you know, we have parking right there. But it was a sea of blue and red. The offices of the DA is right there. So I'm walking across from behind the Cape Sun, across the St. George's thingamajiggy, the square, into a sea of red, I mean blue, first of all, because the DA office is there. And there's hundreds of DA supporters in their blue T-shirts, but everything's happening at Parliament. This is at about 5 o'clock. Taxis from Heideveld and Manenberg dropping off the DA supporters, right? And not within 100 meters, red shirts everywhere, berets, there's the EFF. They now want to march, but the cop stops there right in Wales Street and refuses to let them through. And they were literally riot police, 4 Caspers with riot police, riot gear in full force right there going to stop them. No, you guys aren't getting further than that. But when you look at that, so I got a couple of people of paler skin tone standing there with me watching this, and I'm all excited. I want to see what's happening, what. EFF is going like that, pay back the money, pay. All of a sudden you see this guy in the paler skin screeching away, you know, he's like scared, he wants to get the hell out of Dodge, and I'm going, check the whites are leaving town, they're scared of the, you know, red brigade, but they're saying things that other people don't want to say, and I think there's a voice for them. Perhaps people are scared of the EFF, but I think that they are saying what most of us are thinking. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, say it. Why not? It's your freedom of speech. I mean, the way he maybe did it in Parliament. What?
Okay, you know what? We're gonna stop this because we need to talk about this in the politics section.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rein you two back in. We're gonna finish talking about the president. And one last thing I want to ask your opinions on is, despite the fact that this wife has left Nkandla and she's now living in Durban North, and she's not part of the Zuma fold, and she wasn't there at Sona, and she's been struck off the international relations list. She's not allowed to travel with him anymore. She's still getting spousal support from the presidency. Now, I want to know what you guys think about our president's wives being supported by the presidency.
I'm Team Makhumalo. Makhumalo is the only one supposed to be getting the money.
Team Makhumalo. Hashtag.
Exactly. Yeah. I am T. She's the first wife, and that's how I roll. All these, I remember I was having a conversation, and it actually, goes into the stuff we're talking about. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone. I was like, lately it's become like 2014 and 2015 have become the years of the Nyanzi. Nyanzis or side chicks or side pockets or whatever. Because from politicians to sports people, like these mistresses are just like cropping up, and it's. I'm sorry, I don't, and this is my personal opinion, I do not acknowledge the other wives. I acknowledge Umakhumalo. Because Umakhumalo is the first wife, and as a nation who is supposed to be, upstanding and respectful of culture, we're not supposed to be entertaining anything else. The president has the right to get other wives. That's great, but his first wife is Umakhumalo, and that is our first lady.
Should that be the only one in your opinion that gets money?
Yes,
and
not
the others shouldn't get the
not shouldn't get, but I'm saying that there should be another arrangement where everything is not equal, And for the first time, actually, Makhumalo looked hot in a wig, by the way, during sauna. They actually with the makeup, but the wig was good.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that I acknowledge Umakhumalo because she's the first wife. I respect the other wives, but it's just that I'm sorry to say that, but he's pissing on that now, because he's engaged, like there's 5 other in line, and, so this one might be out because there's another one on the way that he likes a lot, and, so it's becoming confusing because these women have kids. These kids need to be taken to school, and it's not like they go to varsity with 5 rand pocket money, these kids have cars, these kids have, apartments and stuff. They actually live the lap of luxury.
So should there be a limit then, you think?
There should be a limit, and it should be a transparent limit that, okay, wife number 1 gets...
So culture shouldn't, because there's his cultural part, which is part of his, who he is, his identity, but then there's the Western...
As a traditional man, he should handle his stuff privately, since he wants things to be a private family matter.
That was going to come back to bite him.
Exactly. If he wants things to be done as a private family matter, that's great. Be a traditionalist, be a polygamist, that's great, that's good on you. That's your personal element. But can your personal life not affect your professional life and the perception that you create? Because now it's like, again, there's nothing wrong with polygamy, but I'm hearing a lot of husbands and stuff impregnating other women, doing all this stuff, and saying, oh no, but the president's doing it. People can just be dumb sometimes, and he's just... I've met the president a couple of times. I think he's a very charming man, but I just think that he's perpetuating this normalization of extramarital affair. So why are we scared? Why are we crying that the mayor of Tshwane is having an extramarital affair? He's had affairs while he has 5 wives. And he's got other kids on the outside. So
what is the total number at this stage?
It's about 22.
22, is it?
21, 22.
That's like, it would be interesting to know, do they, in terms of VIP security, does every of those 22 kids get VIP security, and does the taxpayer pay for every 22 of those kids? Because in terms of what you're saying now, first wife is the only wife that should really get all the benefits. Everything else is your personal life or your cultural benefit, but why should the state pay for wife number 2, 3, and 4? So 22 kids, is the state also paying for that 22 kids, the management,
it's 22 known kids. I think we should put in the known. It's 22
but
known
let's say, yes,
kids.
we know of 22, but are we paying for those 22
now,
kids?
Technically we shouldn't be. Technically, that money is funded by the Zuma family, but many reports suggest that the Zuma family is being funded by other prominent Indian families.
Absolutely,
who then get to have a say on what happens in the country. Now that is problematic.
Well, back to the wife and the poisoning. Back to the wife and the poisoning. I think that if she really poisoned him, she should, be accountable to the law. I think there should be a case opened. I think that if the president feels like his... Because the thing is, this could also be now a deeper conspiracy theory that someone wanted to oust Zuma and the weak wife.
Now.
We're looking for sympathy
right now.
because I thought he had diabetes. you know, that was the story making his rounds when he lost all that weight.
Yes,
you know, so I don't know when his diabetes turned into being poisoned.
You know, you hide it under the carpet at the time in August. I don't remember this at all trending, that the president has been poisoned. That is a huge headline. And if they knew that and tried to keep it under wraps, fine. But why release it now? The timing is quite interesting.
What I find strange about the whole thing is somebody tries to poison you and you say, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Odd. It's just
absolutely.
It's very,
I mean, why wouldn't you?
No, but that's
again, wait, it's a private family matter.
No, but that's his stance on everything. Kandla is fine, you know. All the other stuff that's happening is fine. So it's it's a catch-22 because it's sad because we're supposed to be patriotic as South Africans, but if we don't have public figures or leaders,
be patriotic.
no, we're supposed to.
You did say
supposed to be.
I am.
Patriot.
Let me don't get me wrong. We both are, right? I beloved South African, but there are certain things that you are ashamed about. At this stage, the behavior of my president, I'm ashamed about that. When I talk to international guests, the first thing they say, most people know who Zuma is, but not because of his prowess or because of his amazing achievement, but because of his
homestead.
faux pas and
really?
He makes headlines not for the great things that he does, but for the wrong things, or he makes the headlines for the wrong reasons. And people internationally remembers these things, and it's so sad. You know, when President Mandela was around, it was different. You know, I went to the States in 1994. It was our first year. People didn't know I was. I would drive a yellow cabbie, and of course, every cabbie's name is Muhammad at the time. I think still, they could be Patel now, or Dinesh, but at the time, every cab driver I got into, and they asked me, where are you from? And I would say South Africa. They just went, oh, Mandela, Mandela. You know, you associated Mandela with goodness, with achievement, with success and triumph. What do you associate Zuma with? Honestly, his legacy, what is Zuma's legacy going to be?
Zuma was a populist to oust President Thabo Mbeki. Obviously, there was a lot of, in stuff that we know nothing about. But
and when your best friends at the time you were in high school, like with Malema, and you guys fall out.
Exactly.
And then
so he created a perception of I am popular. And this is in my president's defense. He never said that I will be a moral whatever, I will do this and that. He was popular. He knew how to dance.
But do you have to say that?
But
didn't we just discuss that?
He didn't engage much on anything, honestly. It was just about taking Thabo Mbeki out, and that's it. He danced and sang his way into the presidency.
I mean, he's our president, a mean girl.
Yes, I think he's a mean guy. Let's not call him a guy again because he might. No, I think so because apparently he's got a lot of dirt on a lot of people.
Apparently so.
Apparently he's got a lot of dirt. So people tread very lightly.